Welcome to October's Deliver More. And no, this is not Nick in a costume. I am actually your new host, Francesca from Intech MKT. I know I have scary big shoes to fill, but I think it's a treat to be here with you and especially with the great Mike Patterson and Chris Lord, who we all know and love better as Wolfie. So today, guys, we are excited to talk about a topic that I'm sure you both know a lot about, and it is the very recognizable and often misunderstood name Teflon. And the reason why we're talking about product chronology and the different names that Teflon has gone by is so that people can understand how to make better product recommendations, have fewer no quotes, fewer missed opportunities, and basically save time by understanding specs faster. So, since we're talking history, and Mike is, of course, the OG in the world of Teflon, I got to begin with you, Mike. Shakespeare once said that a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. And I want to know, what are some of the other names that Teflon has gone by? And are they all the same kind of Teflon?
Wow. Well, I'd be remiss, Francesca, if I didn't say welcome to the show as our new host. So you've been
Thank you.
involved for many years on this, and it's great to see you in front of the camera. Uh, Nick was great, and we're excited for him and his next steps. And we are going to have a poll about why Nick left the show for everyone's fun. But anyway, let me get back to your question since you so eloquently stated it under Shakespeare. Teflon does go by a lot of different brand names that have evolved over the years. On the industrial side that we deal with mostly, it's pretty simple. There's only two: a Tefzel, which is associated with the ETFE product line, and also Teflon S, which I'm not sure if that's an actual registered trademark or more of kind of an informal name, but everybody knows about it. And that really stands for the group of products that's 954, 958, 959 type products that are the one coat systems that stratify during the cure. And that's what the S stands for in there. So that's really the easy part. So boom, episode over, right? No, because on the consumer side, there is a lot of brand names that are out there that many times get cross-pollinated into the industrial world. So these are things that drawings or prints or reference something called Teflon 2 or Silverstone or things like that. And people don't know what it is and may no quote that job. And the reality of it is there is present day industrial coating systems that are analogs of those that can be used. So a quick kind of rundown of what these are. If you go back in time and look, and I found some old advertisements that DuPont used to do a ton of marketing, like old all towards housewives and skirts. It's You would love it, Francesca. We can put some in the show notes if people want links to them, and they're pretty funny. But they did a ton of advertising, and that consumer world was brand new then. So everybody in the consumer cookware world was all doing a ton of advertising and in-store promotion and demonstrations and things like that. But one of the first was called Teflon 2. And all that was in current not in technology is just a two coat PTFE. So a really basic primer, one top coat. That was some of the first frying pan coatings.
Hmm.
And so that's something like our current PTFE primer with one coat of 852, 201, or 202 on top. Real straightforward, real easy, clear PTFE, done. Like super simple. After that came Silverstone, which was a big product for DuPont for many years. And that went from two coats to three coats. But again, just straight PTFE. So it was just two top coats instead of one, but they saw that that gave them more durability and a little more release than a single top coat. So Silverstone was a breakthrough. After that came Silverstone Supra, and this where the game started changing a little bit because they figured out that if you add a little bit of PFA in the top coat, that helps to fill in some of the porosity of the PTFE. So that gives better release, better non-stick, longer life, more cooks, more scratch resistance than the predecessors. So Silverstone Supra, we have things like that now. It's probably closest to our 855 line, I think, probably, Chris. Unfilled three coat PTFE / PFA top coat, three coat
Yeah.
system. So that's probably our closest analog to that now. Then after that came about 20 years of different innovation that was really all geared towards more scratch resistance and more durability of people using metal utensils and things like that in the frying pan. So this is where they started introducing ceramic fillers into the coating systems. And this is where you start seeing systems like Autograph, Platinum, Platinum Pro, Radiance, and I think there's probably 5 or 6 other brand names in the DuPont portfolio that all are these filled systems. And that's just the DuPont brand names. You know, remember, like there was other coating manufacturers out there that also were slugging out the same amount of brand names in this turf war of market share and consumer
Everybody's
cookware.
trying to put their fingerprint on that
Oh
kind of.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So
Jets,
these are
Jets and the Sharks.
yep. So this is really what is our present day 857G 040 140 240 system. The primer, mid coat, top coat, where it's a ceramic reinforced primer, mid coat, and then PTFE/PFA top coat. And this technology is one that's, like we always say, is the Cadillac of our thin film coatings, and it really is. Like we still sell this into a ton of different applications, and where the ceramic filler really helps to extend the life cycle of the coating.
Wow.
So
So
that's kind of a wrap on the brands. I mean, that's a quick overview. And I think it's one of those things that if you get these brands, just let us know, because we can try to cross reference it into something that we have on the shelves today, because it's a lot of those old technologies have evolved and we have something that's available today.
got it. So it really, they had the consumer side, the industrial side, but now you have all the innovation that happened on the consumer side is still available now on the industrial side, just under different names, essentially.
Yep. And I'm glad you pointed that out, because it's kind of funny because the consumer side is really what drove innovation of a lot of these coating technologies, and the industrial side was almost like the afterthought. So markets like office automation, which was ginormous 25 years ago, that's the 3-coat system, but it's conductive instead of having ceramic fillers, it has conductive fillers in it. And so there was no industrial food processing market 35 years ago, but now there is, by using that industrial, or excuse me, the consumer technology that we are able to extend into industrial applications. And so over time, it's almost like the two flip-flopped, whereas consumer kind of has gone down in overall market
Mm-hmm.
focus and market, I guess, overall revenue generation, in the industrial world has continued to find new applications and new places where people can utilize the value of these coatings.
That makes perfect sense. So it seems like there's all these different product names, Tefzel and Teflon S and Silverstone and Autograph, and then there's also, I understand, product codes that have evolved through the years. So what how do people actually tell if a product is old or new now, if these names have such legacies? Wolfie, is there a shortcut to tell if they are looking at an older product or something that's more relevant and new today?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the old products were, in most cases, just simply numbers. The product codes, and then due to the elimination of PFOA, about 15 years ago or so, they started introducing what they called N codes, and the N codes weren't around very long, but it was a much dialed back usage of PFOA as a manufacturing aid. So we had the N codes for a brief period of time, and that's actually when I started here. Was we were working with the N codes. And then, once they finalized, the Gen X version surfactant they use now, they moved over to the G code. So that's really what you're looking for today. I mean, we have some products that don't have the G codes, like ETFE, because they didn't have to go through, that process. But I mean, the G codes is what we're selling today, and hopefully for a long time, going forward as well.
Yeah, that
But
makes sense.
in some instances, Francesca, one of the things that you'll see too is that even though when they did that transition, like even the product codes didn't stay the same. So like the 954 product, for example, like that's a super popular product, especially in aerospace. And we'll still see product codes come in with 954 101, let's say,
Yeah.
or 954 103, which is black FEP1 coat with epoxy. They merged those because it was a low bake and a high bake, and we had two versions. There was a 954 203 also. They merged those together into one. So like we have now two products, one's green, one's black, but 954G 303 encompasses the low bake and the high bake. So like that's a pretty big, change too for people. And I'll probably say in the last maybe month or two, I've seen 954 103 come across my desk. So it's
Oh yeah.
still out there.
And how long has 954-103 not been actually formulated or out
12,
there?
13 years, maybe something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Well,
so
I
when it
mean, the
comes across your
original
desk, it has that the mimeographed terrible sides to it because it came out of
Dot
a
matrix
old school
printout. We
printer.
pulled the paper off the sides. Yeah.
But I guess that they aren't just changing maybe cure temps and names, because that seems like it would be a whole lot of work for nothing. There has to be more to what these changes are. So getting back to what exactly is in these name changes, Mike, how are these current versions different than the old codes or the old products?
I think that there's a lot of different reasons behind product name changes and brand name introductions and product code changes. And when I looked at the products that we're discussing as it relates to these things, they're typically all related to performance advantages and performance advancements of the different coatings. So we talked about consumer and that era of filled coatings, and it's not just like they're just haphazardly sprinkling in some ceramic or silicon carbide or something like that. Like they learned that what these different fillers can do at certain percentages. And they figured out that if you change the shape of the fillers, they can compact together better, which gives it more durability. And if you change the size, what that can do, and if you have some big and some small, how that can alter performance. And so what that allowed them is to increase the body of knowledge about the technology and about coating technology and take that and introduce it into, let's just say, our Teflon S1 coats. We had 958-303, which was a great one coat system, super slippery FE or PTFE and polyamide. Well, now you can add to that silicon carbide and you can take a coating that's really slippery and make it more abrasion resistant. Or you can do that with 958-406 or even 414, which has even more degrees of filler involved in it. So they started learning these things about fillers and the composition of fillers that really helped to advance both the consumer and the industrial product line. They also started learning things about the molecular weights and the melt flow rates for some of these fluoropolymers and seeing how they can alter the molecular weight and change the melt flow rate to allow coatings to build thicker, smoother, be tougher in demanding applications where performance was needed. Industrial bakeware is a great example of this. The regular PFA works great in so many different places. The regular 532-5010, 532G 9410 is a significant change. It's higher molecular weight, so it's more stress crack resistance where there's high heat, and it's also got better melt flow, so it melts and flows very well, creating a extremely nonstick surface. So that's all advancement, and it's all perpetuating the technology of the product line. That's been huge. The last thing I'll touch on will be primer technology, because that's another one where consumer cookware, they didn't want to have to grip blast the frying pan. So Chemours figured out how to create a primer that will work on smooth aluminum. So you don't have to grip blast it. It saves them the time and the money and the effort of doing that. So that can work in the industrial world too. So we have that as part of that 3-coat system now.
It's great to know that it's not just the name changing, but actually these performance characteristics didn't stop improving just when the consumer side kind of fell away and the industrial rose. They really rose to the occasion to meet the needs of the industrial kind of companies and performances.
Yep. And even things like with the ETFE products and PFA products, when they started being used extensively in the chemical industry, and Chris does a lot with chemical coaters out there, they realized that the primers needed to be more robust because they needed to be able to withstand multiple high temperature bakes to build say a 40 mil coating system for both of those products. So that led to the introduction of 699 G1. It used to be 123, now it's 129, and 420 G703. Those are products that are relatively newer to the industrial family because of the need that was coming out of these specific segments where we were trying to achieve growth.
That makes perfect sense. And so I'm assuming that, you guys can rattle these codes and these names off all day, every day, I'm sure, but your average coder doesn't have the history and the lexicon that you two definitely do.
Right,
I'm
right.
sure the
Lexicon.
people specifying parts as engineers absolutely don't have that. And so I know of coders that get jobs that just ask for Teflon or just PTFE on this part. Is there any kind of danger or anything wrong with using these terms generically, Wolfie?
There is. I mean, what we always kind of grapple with is like, how much do people really know? Especially like
Yes.
young engineers about Teflon. Do they just kind of use that term generically? Or, I know PTFE is a Teflon, so I'll just ask for that. And it's really an uneducated guess. And yeah, there can be some real hazards that go along with that because if we just if you were, on the coder side or you're in our shoes and somebody was just generically saying, give me PTFE coding, and I didn't ask a question as to what it was going on, where, what was the, the end use environment like, things like that. It's really, really almost malpractice, so to speak, to do something like that. And so what we'll do is try to find out like what's your end use, like what do you need it for? And somebody might say like, well, PTFE on a chemical tank. Well, I mean that's just really dangerous to do that because PTFE is naturally porous and we would be remiss if we didn't say like, are you sure you don't want something else? Because really, I have better options for you there. Like, I've Ruby Red PFA or I've got ETFE that would work great in that situation versus PTFE. And in some cases, people will say like, oh, I didn't even realize that. Some cases we'll hear where people say, well, this is what the guy asked me. And we'll say like, well, go back to him and tell him there's better options versus just PTFE. If he still wants to go with it, you know what? He'll be a frequent customer because he'll be back again real soon. In that situation because that tank is going to fail, and you'll just he'll just be a cash register. You'll just keep on charging him for coding jobs until they get it. So we really, really encourage asking people for end use type of environments and what's you're looking for a characteristic like what's the number one, number two, and maybe even number three characteristic, and let's go down that path and get the recommendation right.
So when people do get job specs come across their desk that ask for something generic or maybe an end code, something that's a consumer, coding, something that just doesn't have any relevance, and there are steps that they can take to not just dismiss the job and not just no quote it. Before they do that, they can do what exactly, Wolfie?
Well, I mean, they can always contact us first of all, or go to our website. There's the codes are out there as well. But when you see those old codes, they'll call us and just ask us because they deal with a lot of different coding manufacturers. What's the current coding that they need here? And amazingly, those haven't been rewritten or the updated because to be honest with you, in a lot of cases, those customers, if they've been getting these jobs done, let's say over the last 12 years and they're still calling out an old code, they've already experienced the new coding. Like it,
Yep.
they've already seen it. They already experienced it or whatever. They just haven't made the update for whatever reason. And so we always encourage people to call us and you know, just ask us what's the current coding, because like we'll see 958.207 on a spec sometimes, and we know today that's 959 G204. They don't really make any sense. The two of them, it makes sense to us because we know, but for other people, it doesn't make sense. But nevertheless, or can they get a deviation or can they update the spec? I mean, that's really what we're looking for is to get them to do that. And that's gold for us. When our coding, the product code is on that spec, I mean, that's an annuity for us. That just keeps coming in and coming in and it gets passed around and other people use it. It's awesome.
That's what you live for, huh?
That's right. Holy Grail.
Mike, anything to add there?
No, Chris did a good job of wrapping that thing up. And like he said, just give us a call. I mean, this is what we do all the time, and we're here to help.
Yeah, we were not expecting everybody to be as well versed as you two Teflon lords of the
No,
industry are.
no pun intended.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The new host is bringing it.
Well, guys, you've definitely given us a ton of information, and that hopefully has empowered people to make better recommendations, to save time, and most of all, I'm sure, to not miss opportunities just because a name is misleading or wrong. So, really appreciate that. And now that the work is done, I have to, in honor of the great host that came before me, ask you a little fun question or two, if that's okay with you guys.
Sure.
Sure.
All right. Well, Mike, I'll give this to you first. If you were going to dress as a Teflon coating for Halloween, which Teflon coating would you be and how would you be it?
Oh man.
Jeez.
Something real easy for you to think on.
I think I would dress up as 851 G204, the acid primer, and then we'll have just like a corrosion, like burns all over myself. It had to be green in color, like a greenish brown camouflagey look, but with acid burns.
Nice.
You could like hide in the leaves and like scare kids and stuff like that. It would be awesome.
That's the acid primer.
Creepy
Don't worry
acid
about
primer.
this acid primer. Don't worry about him.
Oh no, and the price is going up.
Oh, here comes a price increase letter along with it.
That's what you need taped to you. Chris, what about you? What would you do, Wolfie?
Well, to celebrate my flamboyant dress today, I guess I'll just be ruby red PFA.
I knew it.
So
I did
we'll just go that route. And sometimes Halloween it's kind of cold, so I'll be super warm because I have like all those coats on. It'd be great.
You'd have a high
Numerous
build.
red coats.
If it's hot, I'm in for it. But
He'd look like George Costanza in that huge like jacket,
ensconced in ruby red.
Instead of Gore-Tex, it's Teflon.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind selling an order to coat Wolfie with ruby red. That's a lot of gallons.
Oh, it's the surface area for sure. Trying to shed it if I can.
Stuck up. Oh, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for your time. I hope I haven't left any stones unturned. And I know that I really appreciate you playing along with us. We appreciate everybody here listening and tuning in. And I know that the information you provide helps make all the coders do a better job, code the world, and make it a better place. So thank you guys so much. And we will be back and delivering more again in November from Delaware. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Congrats on your maiden voyage.